Salvini, ma lei fa i bocchini, anche se fosse...
Hello guys, this is episode 2 of season 4 of Italian Politician of the Week. I am Hypocrite, the Great is Silent, and today we're talking about another controversial politician, Antonio Di Pietro, former magistrate who sent a lot of corrupt politicians to jail just to become one himself. This was a pretty good pick and I'm happy you guys voted for him this week. Be sure to comment down below more suggestions if you feel like it. I like to think that Di Pietro became one of the most impactful people in our somewhat recent history almost completely by accident. By that I don't mean he has no merit whatsoever, but I don't think he expected his life to be put upside down like this. Before 1992, Di Pietro was a humble magistrate operating in Milan. He originated from Molise, a small region in central Italy which is famous for being often forgotten about. In fact, it's kind of a meme here that Molise doesn't exist. Things changed completely in February when the socialist politician Mario Chiesa was arrested for accepting a bribe at a cleaning firm. Chiesa appealed to its party leader Gramsci to help him out, but he refused because it would put dirt on the party's name. Feeling unjustly singled out for a crime which wasn't even that bad at the time, Chiesa told the judges how corrupt the PSI and the rest of the party system was, specifically how everyone faked their yearly financial reports and how in reality parties were illegally financed by businesses, associations, powerful people, and in some cases even organized crime. Di Pietro was shocked by these statements and began the nationwide judicial investigation called Mani Pulite, which means clean hands. According to some accounts, as many as 5,000 public figures fell under suspicion. At one point, more than half of the members of the Italian parliament were under indictment, while more than 400 city and town councils were dissolved because of corruption charges. The estimated value of bribes paid annually in the 1980s by Italian and foreign companies is about 4 billion euros. As all of this was going on, the Communist Party had split, hence becoming unable to properly take advantage of the situation to win proper support. It was also during this time that Lega North came to be, alongside Forza Italia shortly after. Di Pietro became the symbol of the Italian justice system that was trying to get rid of the old crooks such as Forlani, Craxi, Altissimo and Andreotti to start a new political class. Check out Craxi's video if you want more info on this. The campaign eventually ended in 1994 after Di Pietro started going after the newly elected Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi. At this point, clean hands, or as journalists called it, Tangentopoli, which roughly translates to Bribesville, had become in the eyes of many a political tool rather than a way to seek justice, because Di Pietro ignored the Communist Party almost completely in his investigations. This happened despite Craxi's indication that the PCI was getting undeclared funds from the Soviet Union. While Di Pietro will later admit that it was wrong for going after Berlusconi straight away instead of investigating all the old school parties, back then it really seemed he was biased and legitimately trying to make the left win the 1994 elections. This is supported by the fact that Berlusconi actually proposed Di Pietro to join him at the Ministry of Defense, but he turned it down. It's not exactly a coincidence that, to this day, Berlusconi blames his trouble with the law not on his blatant tax evasion and promiscuous private life, but rather that all judges are actually communist, hence implying Di Pietro and his associates were one of them. After further investigations done by other judges, it turned out that Craxi was right all along about the communists, though in Di Pietro's defense he couldn't really have done much about this because, as I previously foreshadowed, it was when he started going after Berlusconi that he decided to call it quits and give up his title of magistrate. I know what you're all thinking. Yes, it's true that Di Pietro has a striking resemblance to Robert De Niro, but that's not what I wanted to say. After he ended his career as a jurist, he decided to run for office with the left-wing coalition of Romano Prodi at the 1996 elections. They won and Di Pietro became Minister of Public Works. A couple of years later, he founded his own party, Italy of Values, a liberal party that called for honesty and transparency in the institutions while also fighting against Berlusconi and all the aspects that come with his historical era. Di Pietro was also Minister of Infrastructure in Prodi's second cabinet from 2006 to 2008, although he never got along too well with another minister in the government called Clemente Mastella, former Christian Democrat who was involved in a lot of shady business over the years. As I'm writing this, Mastella is mayor of the town of Benevento. However, 5 days ago people voted again, so there might be a chance that Mastella is not there anymore. Polls are promising, but I do not intend to give it for granted. Future me will tell you in the comments if he's still mayor. Di Pietro was one of the most popular opponents of Berlusconi in the early 2000s, and he was known for his wacky way of speaking, which was very colloquial and charming, although it got kind of forced by the 2010s. Election results show that Italy of Values peaked in popularity between 2006 and 2009, when they doubled their votes in 3 elections in a row. Things started to go south after Di Pietro started getting investigated himself over some property he owned and several charges of misuse of public power. Despite his decent opposition to Berlusconi's and Monti's government, he wasn't re-elected at the 2013 elections. Di Pietro just wasn't fashionable anymore. Renzi didn't care much of him since he liked Craxi, and after he said many defamatory things about the president of the Republic Napolitano, nobody really wanted to be associated with him. At the end, he gave up and retired back in Molise, where he's currently working on his memorandum and writes books and stuff. Di Pietro is a product of his time, although I'd honestly like to see him come back into politics eventually, perhaps on a regional level. It would be interesting to see him as president of the region. He would definitely have the numbers to be elected, then who knows. Today, Italy of Values still exists, but nobody really cares about it ever since Di Pietro himself left. Other than Di Pietro, the only other member of the party worth mentioning is probably Antonio Razzi, who was elected in 2008 but betrayed Di Pietro in 2010 by joining Forza Italia after he was paid to do so. Now he makes TikToks. That's pretty much it with Di Pietro. What did you guys think? Be sure to let me know by liking the video and commenting any observation you might have. I will see you next time.